Hey, you guys, welcome. Last day of the year of 2025. Welcome. We're it. We made it, y'all. I can still recall all the videos I've done, and I'm like, okay, man, can you believe it? We're in the middle of June. Can you believe it? We're in the middle of July. And it just it just moves, doesn't it? Well, in today's broadcast, we're going to take a look back at some of the high points and the interesting points of this year, coming from the perspective of this from our particular platform here on YouTube. And it should be a fun one. And then I'm also going to share later on in the video, in our broadcast, a book, another very interesting book that I came across that, like I said, the quote I'm going to read out of this book, you wouldn't believe it unless I was actually showing you the book, just showing you the book and where it came from. And that is what we're going to do. And, we'll talk about some other things as well, but it should be a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in. But let's go ahead and get things started. This is a video that I did for our store, Sabatree.com. As we've been telling you, today is the last day. Today is the last day for our up to 30% off promo that's going on, because after today, it's a wrap. No more sale. Some of the products will not be available. So make sure you jump on that today. All right. And so this is a little song I actually put together for that. So let's take a look at that as we're loading people up here on the broadcast. Let's sit back if you can, or maybe take your shoes off and get down and let's dance a little bit. We made it, y'all. End of the year.
Yeah. Hey, family. Yeah. Yeah. On the wall, say the time running low. 30% off, yeah, you already know. Cabinet's empty when the been real. Now's the moment, go on and refill. Teas in the pantry, birds on the way. This kind of price don't come every day. Something's resting, going on pause. New year coming, clearing it all. We've been working late, packing every box. Small team, big love, never hit the clock. If you need it now, yeah, we got you covered. Sabatree family, look out for each other. One more day, hey. Don't let it slide. Biggest sale of the year, yeah. Now's the time. Stock it up, go big, don't wait. Sabatree got you feeling great. One more day, then it's gone. Some things rest till the season moves on. Hey, hey. Cold outside, but we keeping it warm. Building good habits, new year reborn. Minerals, blends, things you trust. Now or later costs more than us. Hey, car looking right, click that button. Future, you gon' say thank you something. This ain't pressure, this is care. We wanna see you thrive next year. Orders going out as fast as we can. Hands on deck from the whole small fam. If you ever rock with Samba before, you already know what we do this for. One more day, feel that groove. Up to 30 hours, some even more for you. Suck it up, ride that wave. It's the moment, don't delay. One more day, then we shift. Make room for what's next. That's the get, yeah. One more day, don't let it slide. Don't let it slide. Stay over. Now's the time. Suck it up, go baby. Don't wait. Sabatree got you feeling great. One more day, then it's gone. Some things rest till the season moves on. Yeah. Hey, you part of the family, not just a sale, it's community. From us to you, here's to health and everything you do. One more day, yeah, that's it. Biggest sale, final chance, let's hit it. Fill it up, do it now. Future you gonna smile somehow. One more day, say it loud. Samba family, we so proud. Going to the new year, big. Sabatree.com, let's live. Here's to your health and wellness, now and all through the new year.
There we go. I want to make sure, because I would have been talking for a good 5 minutes here and there would have been no audio here. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, upload that yesterday. You know, some of you guys are a bit funny because I will get emails from folks. I get messages from people. I'm not playing. They're like, man, where'd you get that music from, man? Where can I get that music? And I'm like, okay, it's right here. I'll put something up for you. Man, nobody clicking on it. There'll be a few people, that's it. But hey, whatever. You know, I do it because I enjoy it, you know, if anything else. So, you know, it's there. And we do have a growing music collection that we have over on sambatree.com, by the way. If you just go to sambatree.com, click on the section for music. We already got a few albums that we put out, and we got some more coming, you know, pretty soon out, you know, just like finding the time and the mental space and all that to put it together. But anyway, so yeah, so one day I would say two things. Well, it was the music thing. Oh, this year, what are some of the things I learned, or I've noticed, I'll just say that, this year. There are 2 areas, and I just mentioned one of them, that, you know, it's kind of weird. Like I said, the whole music thing, right? But when I talk about health, if I were to do a broadcast here, at least on this platform on Samba Journeys, and I was to talk about health and the importance of it and all of that, all you got to do is put one green leaf on the thumbnail. Man, people, they don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. Now, if I do that over on Samba Tree, you get some people to do it. But health is something that, what we try to do here is that I understand, you know, if you want to, you know, people who are interested in that, they're going to subscribe to someone that's all they talk about. Like, you got plenty of doctors, medical people, herbalists, and all of that, and their whole channel is 100%. That's all they talk about, right? What we try to do here is we try to blend that information with some of the stuff that's going on, like as far as like the practical. You understand what I'm saying? Like, in other words, there is a connection between you exposing yourself regularly to sunlight and having a sharp mind. You know, there is a connection between, let's say, you know, having a humidifier in your house, or, you know, some of these different herbs and stuff, and what it does to your brain. One of the things we talked about this year over on our Samba Tree page is we talked about the different parts of your brain, and you know, and why we have to make sure we have this deep understanding of our phones, our cell phone devices, and our computers and stuff, when to update it. Did you get that latest update for this? Because it's going to give you this feature and that feature and that feature and all of that. And we're very familiar with that. Even people who aren't really that technically inclined, you know, we know the importance of keeping our computers updated and the software and getting the latest software. We know all of that, right? But when it comes to identifying the different parts of our brain and the different functionalities of each, most people don't know that. And so what we try to do is tie that into how you consume news and things that you see on social media, you know, and how your amygdala, which is that emotional part of your brain, if you don't have that regulated, right, what ends up happening is you end up reacting to stuff without processing things. You understand? So if your only way of processing is going straight to your amygdala and that's it, and skipping your prefrontal cortex, then there's an imbalance there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we try to bring all of that in so people can understand. So when that next topic comes up on social media on your feed, you are more conscientious of how you react to it. You understand? Like, there should be that part in your brain that says, okay, before I even say anything, let me just look this up and verify it. Or let me start asking these questions first. Is this legit? Is this real? You know, that kind of thing. And so that is how we are to react. So that's what we try to do, is we try to bridge those things together so that, we're not, of course, we talk about news and things like that, but we also talk about the health part too, which I'll get into that a little bit later, why that is going to be very crucial for us as we are moving into 2026. All right. Because there's a lot of things on tap right now that is set and ready to get many of you all set. That's my wife there. I told her, I said, her skin all bright and all of that. It's like a little doll. But, things that are set in place to already get you off focus and in your emotions. And when I tell you, I spend hours just looking at different things, making notes, man, all kinds of notes and stuff of things I've been observing over the years, and, and different things I see them doing. And I spend hours literally looking at this stuff and just, I see the games that they're playing. See, and as we're moving into 2026, one of the things we're going to have to be are students. We're going to have to be students to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to do it. It's, not just depending on someone like myself or other content creators, but you're going to have to start depending on your own self and your desire to know the truth. So many people will put in their titles that I'm about the truth. I stand on truth. But you're going to have to start putting in the work yourself, pen and paper, asking questions, knowing when to turn off social media, allowing your brain to process some things so that you can get to the truth. And yeah, you're going to lose some friends. You may lose some of this or that or whatever, but what you gain is invaluable. So anyway, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into religion and, where I stand. I've already been very clear about that when it comes to Black Americans and religion and all of that, the impact it's had on us, the good and the very bad about it. We're going to talk about that too. This will also be a time in the comments, if you would like to leave a question here, to participate in this discussion, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Okay. So anyway, so there you go. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll just jump in a few things here. We're just going, like I said, again, I'm just going to take an overview of some of the things that we've been talking about over this last year. Let's see. I already mentioned Somber Trees. So I got that covered here. Let's take a look here. So let me go ahead and bring this up here. And we're not going to be as long, at least I don't think we are, for this broadcast, because I know, some of y'all got some drinking to do. No, I'm just playing. Yeah. Some of y'all, it's New Year's Eve and, you got stuff you got to do and all of that. I get it. So yeah. So anyway, let's take a quick look here. I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the things here. Let's see. I think I'll start off with some of the lives here. I'm not playing any of these videos. I'm just going to kind of scroll through. And let me see just some of the things that stuck out to me, some of the things we've talked about. We talk about a whole range of different topics, as you can see, just with these thumbnails and all of that. Okay, so we were just coming off of the heels of the election. I do remember that, with Kamala Harris and all of that. And, I remember us doing a bunch of videos where we were just talking about and identifying how these individuals were really attacking particularly Black men. You remember that conversation and how they were going on Black men, particularly, and I would say more specifically straight Black men, and basically saying that if you don't vote for this Indian woman, that basically you don't, you're not Black enough or something like that, right? And so we were just coming off of the heels of that, and we were just having that whole conversation and all of that. And then, of course, the last tactic was, be afraid, be very afraid, because they got Project 2025, and you better be afraid because this Project 2025, that was like the call sign to get people scared, even though a lot of people didn't even know what was in it. But we did do a video, it was somewhere around here, where we actually looked at this whole Project 2025. And basically the assessment was this. I mean, when I looked at it, was that it's all it really is you're replacing one bureaucracy for another. Neither bureaucracy benefits Black folks specifically. So, you got folks out here that was like fighting against Project 2025 and like, oh, this is going to be the nail in the coffin. But I'm looking at the bureaucracy that we already have, and black folks are still angry. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose either way. I'm not saying black folks are out here suffering and all that. Shoot, a lot of people out here suffering. They ain't just black folks. But one of the things that we did learn this year was the instability of our economic structure as black folks, the black community. We pointed out in one of these videos about how the civil rights movement pushed many black folks into government employment. Remember, we talked about that. And, that was the creme de la creme. That was the high point. You remember I showed you the clip. Many of you remember the clip from that movie. What was it? I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. You remember that? With a scene where he goes in and the guy, he starts giving the story about they went in as protesters, but they came out as employees, mail carriers and everything else. Remember I talked about that? Well, that was based on truth. A lot of black folks in that era, that's what they did. All of that anger, all of that protest energy and all of that went into getting them into government employment. Remember that? And so, yeah, they got jobs. Yeah, they had secure jobs. But what was the problem? The jobs that they secured were just that. They were just jobs. They were not government jobs, particularly of that caliber that many black people were getting, were not jobs that promoted their employees to pursue and go higher in terms of their education and their skill set and all of that stuff. Anybody that has any experience like myself working in these government departments, full well, you got a lot of people that are very content and sitting on their behind for years and years and years. Child, I only got a few more years. I only got 10 more years to go. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't trying to mess with nobody. I'm just going to sit right here. And as long as my check keeps coming in, I'm good. That was the attitude of many black folks, and not just black women, but black men as well. And that continued to happen over and over again. Meanwhile, every opportunity that came in to update a lot of the systems that these government organizations were using, they would pass it by. They said, no, we're still going to use DOS. We're still going to use Fortran. We're still going to use some of these old operating systems and all of that. Meanwhile, outside of that world, people were moving on. Black folks, white folks, everybody, they were moving on. But when it came to technology, a lot of black folks who were in the government system, they were stuck, right? So in comes AI, in comes Trump, in comes Elon Musk with Doge. You remember that? This is earlier in the year. And then that just pulled the cover off of all of that. So the people who built an entire career off of that mindset, well, they got exposed. But it wasn't just them. There were people in the non-governmental workforce. People have been losing jobs for a very long time. It just finally caught up to the people in the government. And then when that happened, that's when you start seeing the articles coming out, look at over 300,000 women lost their jobs, and, he's attacking black women and all that. You remember all of that stuff? But that's the history behind it. That's the history that a lot of black folks, unfortunately, they don't want to talk about that. And the reason why this is such an important issue, because another thing that we brought out was that no other middle class, when you look at all the people groups here in America, the only people group that has where its middle class is heavily dependent on government are black Americans. We pointed that out. Not white people, not Asians, not Hispanics. It's black Americans. Our middle class heavily depends on government employment. So now that government is catching up now with technology and some of this other stuff, well, guess what? Our middle class right now is starting to collapse. And if that happens, it's just a matter of time. But we're going to be in company. We're going to have some company because it's also happening with other people too, you know, as far as the economy is going and all of that. So this isn't just a, you know, as much as people want to make this into some kind of Trump thing, this was a kick the can moment where it's just, you know, it's just a kicking of the can moment. And then finally the music stopped and people got exposed. You understand what I'm saying? So that was one of the things we discussed in great detail this year. On that, I remember that. Let's see what else. We do have another channel called on Long Form History, but from time to time I will get into some of the religious conversations that's going on out here. I remember this one right here, explaining slavery, how Christian apologists abbreviate the transatlantic slave trade. That was a good one, because we talked about how just that Christianity did bring some legitimacy, at least in their minds, that slavery was something that they were supposed to engage in and all of that. So we had a real good conversation on that. But if you want to get into other conversations like that, go to our Long Form History channel where we really get into that in greater detail. Let's see what else we had. Oh yeah, this one here, I remember this one. How fire exposed Black meme culture. This video was about, you remember the fire that took place out in California, in the Pasadena area, in Altadena, more specifically, Altadena, California, which is right next to Pasadena, was a town that we were very familiar with because we used to live in Pasadena. There's a significant section of town in Altadena that has been Black for a number of years, going all the way back to like the early 1900s, I think. It's been Black for a number of years. So, so that was one of the towns that suffered severely by those massive fires. And, it was just a sad thing, of course, and they're still suffering. I've been like tapping in on that story every now and then. What basically happened, they lost their homes, but anybody that's familiar with home, real estate in California, particularly in the LA area, those homes are expensive. So just imagine a home has been into your family for generations, you lose it, but you don't really have the money to buy a new one, at least in that area. So what's end up happening is a lot of these people have ended up moving away, and now you have outside investors coming in and scooping up that land. And this video here, I was talking about how, right down the street, literally miles away, you have the FBA headquarters, Tariq Nasheed. They didn't say a doggone thing really about that. Instead, it was pushing comedy club events. All of this stuff about, we Black Americans, we take after each other, we look after each other, but they didn't say a doggone thing about this. There was no fundraisers. There was nothing done to that. And the same thing with the so-called Black Indian movement. Same thing. They didn't say a doggone thing about this. But yet they want to keep your eyes focused on things that happened in the past. This was happening in the present. And all of these groups, neither one of these groups were saying anything or doing anything about it. They weren't even talking about it. I was going to their channels to see, okay, are they going to say something? Are they going to mention it? Or are they going to maybe do some kind of fundraiser? Are they going to do something? You got all of these people chiming in on this stuff, but they ain't saying nothing about that. So yeah, we talked about that too. That was an interesting video there. Let's see. Yeah, the whole Tabitha Brown thing. You remember that, where she was basically, you had Black people who were, mad at her because she was trying to give some basic advice on the Target situation. You remember Black folks you had Black people, like the church down at New Birth down in Georgia. They were protesting Target and saying that Target was anti-Black, but no, it was actually anti-DEI. And so Target made some changes, and people were going out and saying that Target, since they backed away from DEI, they started making these claims that all of these Black businesses that who had products on the shelves in Target were losing were all of a sudden being booted out because of Trump. Well, we took a look into that. We actually look into that. And in one of the videos, we talked about that. I went into deep detail with that and found out that that wasn't true at all. What was happening was you had individuals, and this happens across the board. If we, as Samba Tree, for example, if we had products and we listed it in on the shelves and we made an agreement with Target, and Target said, hey, listen, we'll promote your stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so that's not a guarantee. The guarantee is we're going to allow you to have space on our shelves. But if people aren't buying it, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to move you. And I found several cases where that was happening. And so I said, well, this is interesting. So I looked even further. There was one particular case, this individual, bless their heart, I mean, they had very good intentions. But what was happening was they were selling like these Black History playing cards kind of thing. It was a great concept. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we're in the age of cell phones and AI and all of that. Most people aren't really into that anymore. It's a great idea. I'm not shooting the idea down, but I don't think people are going to necessarily be knocking down Target's door to get playing cards. You know, especially if it's like a Black History thing. Again, I'll say it the third time. I think it was a great idea, but I don't think it's practical in this age. And so for that, she did something where she was complaining about, oh, Target this and they're not buying. No, that's your fault. You know what I mean? That's you. That's how the market works. And then there was other cases as well. But then I have since been in Target for the sole purpose of looking in somebody, or is it true that they're just pulling off all Black manufacturers off? And the answer is absolutely not. In fact, I would encourage you to do the same thing. See, one of the things we do here on this platform is we'll hear these claims that you see oftentimes that are flowing through the Black section of town on social media, and I will take it upon myself to go investigate it myself. And what I found was that the opposite was true. And so we talked about that. In fact, that does remind me this year we also started another channel. We called it Claim Check. No, it's called what's it called? Black Fact Check. I think that's what it's called. Let me see if I could pull it up for you. Let's see. YouTube Black Fact Check. Let's see. Is it called Black Fact Check? What's called? Yeah, that's what it's called. I'm bringing it up now. Let's see. View or channel. Here it is. I don't have too many videos on there. I need to have some more videos. That's it right there. So on this year, we launched this webpage. Latest claim: HIV cases are skyrocketing amongst Black Americans. That was something that was going around a lot. They were saying that HIV cases were skyrocketing in Atlanta and Texas. Well, I took the time and I investigated myself, and the opposite was true. It was not happening at all. It was a false claim, but you had a lot of large and small platforms, Black platforms, that were pushing this. So we took a look at it and show you every receipt. This one here was, oh yeah, you can look at that one. That was people was making this claim that Kissinger was saying that the Igbo tribe was in fact the true Israelites. And we looked into that. That was a false claim too. And of course we tackled the big case of, you know, and you still got people who are still saying this now, you know, the African map that says the tribe of Judah. We looked into that, and that is not what it is at all. I've done many long videos on that, but this one I shorten it to like under 7 minutes, and I show you all the facts. And no, it is not the biblical tribe of Judah at all. It is not that at all. So we put that to rest. You know, we also tackled a much bigger question. Are Black Americans the real Hebrews? I was able to answer that within a little over 9 minutes. And again, I challenge you, don't just listen to me saying this and then jump into the comments and try to answer it. Look at the facts, go to those videos and talk the facts. Don't just come in with a whole list of scriptures, because that ain't it. We're looking at actual factual documented history. All right. And then this one I did, it was the claim about, now black folks, we have been through a lot. We have been tortured, we have been beaten, we have been going through a whole lot, and that is all documented. Clearly documented. But there's one particular case I was always interested in, and that was this claim that black babies were being used as alligator bait. And so, once again, what did I do? Investigated it. I looked for actual sources. I spent a very long time looking into this, and there's no credible source that can support that claim. Now, some people may get angry with that and say, oh, no, you're wrong. See, well, the only reason why you probably saying that is because you have too much invested into that. But it's not substantiated. It's not true at all. And so, again, like I would tell you, go to the video itself. Go to the video. Don't try to answer it or try to debate me in the comments right now. Go to the video itself, listen to the facts, and then go from there. Okay. And then we can discuss it like that, but anyway, but that's where I do. I lay it all out for you. All right, let's get back here. Let's take a couple more and go through some of the things here. 2025 is quite an interesting year. I mean, there was a lot of things going on. We like to focus on the bad, but there was a lot of good things. There was a lot of growth. We've all experienced that growth too. And so very thankful for that. AI was one thing that came up with a bang, man. AI was something we've talked about that quite extensively here on this platform as well. I have many videos on AI. It gave us an opportunity to take part in that. We even offered a few courses on AI, just AI 101, ChatGPT 101, digital, using AI artwork, how to create some real nice artwork. Went through some of the different platforms that are out there. So we did that this year as well. AI is it's a two-way. It's a very interesting street. And that's one that I spent a great deal of time, and I'm going to be spending a lot more time discussing this really interesting technology, because on one side, it provides great opportunity for a lot of people, at least at this stage, a lot of opportunity. I've come across several videos of black folks saying that they may have lost their jobs, but they was able to create new jobs using AI technology. And so we're still in this window right now of opportunity for people to actually build things, to carve out for themselves, niches, if you will, of opportunities where you can maybe start your own business or start something, or maybe build things and all of that with this AI technology. And we're in a place right now where it's very inexpensive. And, I would really encourage people to really delve into it, to dive into it, to learn more about it, because I don't care what your age is. If you can speak and think and read and write, there is for now a place for you, to do that. AI is very instrumental in helping me to redesign an entire series that I taught. It was Who in the L Are You Following? A course basically it was, but it was a series of teachings I did, and I was able to use it in conjunction with the stuff I already put together, and was able to put together an entire course that you can download right now over on Sabatree, that really goes through the historicity of the Bible and all of that stuff. So I really enjoy putting that together, and you can do things like that. So there are many of you who are very smart, bright, intelligent, and you can teach. And this is something that you can do. We got a dear friend of ours here on the channel, Coach. He comes by periodically, and he's using that technology to actually build an entire curriculum, an AI-based curriculum, and it's called Coco Classroom. And so I mean, people are really doing it out here, And it's a great opportunity. And in this year, we really saw the growth potential of it, but we also saw what is happening on the back end. And what's happening on the back end, unfortunately, is that people are losing jobs. A lot of people are losing jobs. That's just the truth. And it's going to continue to happen, unfortunately. More and more people are going to lose jobs because of this technology. I was listening to my daughter, and she was telling me about her job. And, you know, they're slowly creeping that in. They're like, oh, you know, we brought this little AI tool in. Play around with it. Tell us what you think. Oh, don't worry. It's going to be okay and all that. And, you know, it's a matter of time. That's why, I tell my daughter, I said, listen, just have your way of escape. Have your way of escape, and then my son, he went to school, went through all training to be a software engineer. By the time he comes out of it, they're literally phasing out software engineers. So my son literally went through an entire course, paid for it with his money, only to come out on the other side. And I mean, there are still software engineers out there, but they're becoming more and more competitive, because of this AI technology. And so that's the other reality too. And so this is why we've done our part to really at least help people to kind of get on board, if you will, with the basics, so that you're not afraid of the technology, showing you the different things you can do with it and all of that, particularly if you're talking about building businesses, building solutions. We built, we were using some of the GPTs. We built a platform, one called Baba Herbs? And basically it's a GPT or AI kind of platform based on ChatGPT, where it's pulling exclusively from, Dr. Sebi and other Black nutritionists out there, where you can actually put in your information and it's going to give you responses based off of their work, off of their stuff. And so we put that together, and that's out there. That's free. You can access through that through Sabatree. We did another one where we built something called Claim Check, where I took a ton of resources, research books, a whole nine, that all stem from, they all are based on looking at the historicity of the Bible, where any of these claims that people put out, you can measure it against actual history, and you can do that. So I built that. There's another one too that I built too. So yeah, I mean, it's, so it gives you a lot of opportunity. And, but here's the thing, the technology is moving lightning fast. And I just told you that a lot of people losing their jobs, and there's going to be more people losing their jobs. I was listening to Eric Schmidt, the guy, I think he was the co-founder of Google. There was a video that he put out where he said that it's within like 5 years, he said these AI agents will have their own language. They will be talking to one another. Did you hear what I'm just saying? He said literally they're going to be talking with one another. I think I have it here. Let me see if I can find it. That would be under, let's see, bookmarks. That would be under AI. Eric Schmidt, here he is. Let's play this video because I want you to hear what he's saying on here. It's an under 3-minute clip. I want you to hear what he's saying on this. There we go. Let's take a listen here.
On now that are going to profoundly change the world very quickly. The first is basically this question of context window. And for non-technical people, the context window is the prompt that you ask. So, study John F. Kennedy or something. Right. But in fact, that context window can have 1 million words in it. And this year, people are inventing a context window that is infinitely long. And this is very important because it means that you can take the answer from the system and feed it in and ask it another question. So I want a recipe. Let's say I want a recipe to make a drug or something. they say, what's the first step? And it says, buy these materials. So then you say, okay, I bought these materials. Now what's my next step? And then it says, buy a mixing pan. And then the next step is, how long do I mix it for? You see, it's a recipe. That's called chain of thought reasoning. And it generalizes really well. We should be able, in 5 years, for example, to be able to produce 1,000-step recipes to solve really important problems in science, in medicine, in material science, climate change, that sort of thing. That's the first one. Second one is agents. And an agent can be understood as a large language model that knows something new or has learned something. So an example would be read all of chemistry, learn something about chemistry, have a bunch of hypotheses about chemistry, run some tests in a lab about chemistry, and then add that to your agent. These agents are going to be really powerful, and it's reasonable to expect that agents will be, not only will there be a lot of them, and I mean millions, but they'll be like the equivalent of GitHub for agents. There'll be lots and lots of agents running around and available to you. And the third one, which to me is the most profound, which is already beginning to happen, is text to action. And what that is write me a piece of software to do something, right? You just say it. I mean, can you imagine having programmers that actually do what you say you want? And it does it 24 hours a day. And strangely, these systems are good at writing code such as language like Python. You put all that together, and you've got infinite context window, the ability for agents, and then the ability to do this programming. Now, this is very interesting. What then happens? There's a lot of questions here, and now we get into the questions of science fiction. I'm sure the three things I've named are happening because that work is happening now. But at some point, these systems will get powerful enough that you'll be able to take the agents and they'll start to work together. At some point, people believe that these agents will develop their own language. And that's the point when we don't understand what we're doing. You know what we should do? Pull the plug.
Yep. There you go. But they're not going to pull the plug, of course. If anything, they'll pull the plug on you, but they're not going to pull the plug on it, because that is, in fact, the next level right now. This is where things are going right now when it comes to technology, is to replace you. That is what's going on right now. And this is why, what happened a few years ago was to kick things started, to accelerate certain things. Hopefully you guys can read between the lines on that, because as you know, on this digital plantation we're on right now, we really can't get into that too much now, can we? Anyway, let's move on here. And because we're still seeing that right now. We're still seeing this play out right now. Let's take a look at this. Oh, yeah, that was one. That was still about the boycott stuff. Oh, yeah, well, I'll just mention that. This one right here, guess who's behind the blackout? And that was the whole thing about Target and all that stuff. And, where we found out that the person behind the whole Target protest was actually a Jewish man. And, So, we found that out. It wasn't black people that did that. He just knew how to play the game. Let's see what else we have here. We're still moving through here. As you can see, we just talk about a lot. Let me just point out a few more here. Oh yeah, this one, sometimes depending on the story, if it was something I found to be quite intriguing, not only did I do a video, but I actually created I would do a whole PDF file on it. Like where it gives you more information, to more links, to more sources and all of that. And this one right here, the deeper lessons behind the latest white South African farmer story. We covered quite a bit on that. And so I would encourage you to check that one out. And if you go on our community page, you'll find that, you'll find a link to that as well. We have a folder that I have with our platform, and that's like our free folder. From time to time, I'll throw in free documents, free music, the images, things like that. So, from time to time, you'll see the links to that. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one here, are people getting dumber? We talked about cognitive decline. We especially looked at, I was very concerned about that. as it pertains to black folks. Now, am I saying black people are dumb and stupid? No, I'm not saying that at all. That's not even what the video was about. What it is saying is that when we look at technology combined with eating habits and the structure of the home, it is all giving into, plus religion, that's a big one. It is, in fact, causing our mental, our cognitive ability to decline. And I went into some details with that. And I not only details on pointing out the problem, but what are some of the things we can do to turn that around? So we talked about that. This led into a discussion about, the whole issue of self-deletion. And I'm still bookmarking things even up to last month. In the last 30 days, there's been several black folks who have chosen to self-delete. And meanwhile, I got black folks telling me that, well, black people don't do that kind of stuff. Well, there's a whole list of that goes back for years and years and years. Black people do this just like anybody else. And it's an issue that we can address, should address, and prioritize, and that is mental health. And that is something that was really a centerpiece of a lot of things that we talked about this year. Let's see. We looked at this is something Hebrew, all praises, another death cult amongst us. I forgot what this was about, but again, it was talking about some Hebrew Israelite stuff that I came across. We talked about oh yeah, we had a big discussion about Black American culture. What is it? Or the word community. We talked about that. Community means common unity. And how can we be in union with people who are anti-community? So we really delved into that. We talked about, and then we got into the Candace stuff and what was going on with that, and so I'm just skipping through. Let's see. Of course, the whole turning point thing and where we are today. And those are all the lives, but then the videos I've done a lot of like pre-recorded videos and stuff like that. I'll just mention this one again. Yes, we do have a digital library, over 700 books. I'm adding more at least once a week now that I come across. One of the books I am going to touch on in a few moments here. A lot of these books are hard to find or even banned and all of that. I'm a strong believer that we have to start storing up this information ourselves and stop just depending on other people to do it for us. I talked about many times how ChatGPT is going to give you preferred information. They're not going to give you the full story. A lot of times they avoid giving you certain information, but there are a lot of books out there that we should be storing ourselves and managing ourselves. And so this is something that I am doing. I'm simply opening up my library and saying, hey, listen, you can have access to it. It's not a once a month thing. It's only $9.99 one time, and that's it. You get access to all these books, research papers, documentaries. I'm adding those. Ton of other things too. I'm gonna be adding over time. All you got to do is go to our community page and you'll see the step-by-step on how to access it. It's very simple and very easy. So I'll just mention that. So as we're moving into 2026, look forward to expanding that and that becoming more and more of a thing here, because one of my goals is people who do access, who come to our platform, I want you to have a desire to educate yourself. Not so much to wait for a next video of mine to drop, but I really want you to be, that's the whole old saying. It says readers are leaders. It's time for us to be leaders. It's time and the way we're going to do that is having a desire to read and not necessarily have someone reading it for you, or just ChatGPT, just give me a summary. Grok, just give me a summary. No. We can't be like that. We're going to have to be old school folks when it comes to how we intake information, how we process information. And that starts with your health. And that's what we've been talking about. It starts with prioritizing your health, because if your health is off kilter, then it's going to have some very not so good impacts on your prefrontal cortex area, your amygdala, your lobes. All of that is going to have an impact on all of that. And that's why we spend as much time as we do on those topics. But go to Samba Tree YouTube page. That's where we get into all the medical and all that kind of stuff there. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to that channel as well. Okay. Let's see. Health and wellness. I talked about AI. One of the things we're going to, and so let's just move on here to one of the things I know we're going to have to move away from. All these street fights that you see, these digital street fights. One of the things I saw happening this year was a bunch of that. And I think it's come to a hilt. It's come to a climax almost. Hopefully it has, where we're seeing all of these videos coming up where black men are going in on black women going on black men, and all this other stuff. And then you got black Americans going after immigrants, and immigrants going after whatever. You know, that stuff is going to have to stop. It's going to have to stop, because we can now see what it really is. It's division. It's just designed to bring division and more division and more division over the most dumb or the most asinine stuff. See, division has to take place, but not over things like that based on where you come from. The division I am a strong proponent of are people who are self-destructive. Those are the people that we have to separate ourselves from. People who are self-destructive and don't want to have, always want to tear something down. Those are the people that we have to separate ourselves from. We have to get rid of that. I mentioned this the other day, and I'll just say it again. I had an interesting conversation with someone very recently, that reached out to me. I mean, I was just minding my business, but they were trying to start something with me, like literally trying to start. I mean, this thing just came out of the blue. They just was like literally trying to start something with me. But I said to myself, and I was telling my wife, I said, what's funny is their assumption is we have a relationship. I don't have a relationship with you. So it didn't even bother me. If anything, it was kind of like, whatever. But and they were trying to take digs at me and stuff like that, but it wasn't really, I was staying focused. But it didn't even bother me. It didn't bother me like that, because I told the person, I said, well, look, your first mistake is you assume that we have some kind of relationship. We've never had a relationship. All the years I've known you, we've never had a relationship like that. So you can say whatever you want. It ain't doing nothing to me. Because see, and I'm sure I got someone here that know what I'm talking about. See, people, you know how you hear the saying, hurt people. And what a lot of times hurt people will do is that they will always go after people that they believe that they can make the most damage to. So if they believe that you have a deep relationship, there's a deep relationship there, they're going to go after you. They're not going to go after the stranger on the street, because they don't know that stranger on the street, but they're going to go after someone that's in the family, because that's someone they know, and that's someone they know they can do the most damage. But see, the problem is that if you don't have that kind of connection, even if it's a family situation, it ain't going to do any damage. It's not. And I was so glad that this actually did happen, because what that did for me is that it pulled the final cover off of that entire situation that this individual was part of. So I no longer have to even think about that person anymore. It's done. I'm completely done. It's never going to be a cloud in the back of my mind wondering. Now I know exactly where this is coming from. And I'm really like trying to, because there's things that came out of that conversation. I'm going to try to be I'll tell you what, I'll abbreviate as much as I can. But and I'm saying this because it is important. What I am done with is when you have people, I'm done with pretending that something isn't there. Maybe I'll start off like that. I'm done with pretending that some things aren't there. So for example, if someone in the family, was abused by other family members, I'm not the one to come to and, if we're at a funeral or something like that and you just gonna pretend, hey, you remember that time when I helped? I'm not the one to pretend like that. Because in the forefront of my mind, I'm still remembering those stories. You understand what I'm saying? No. Before we even get to how good the chicken is, let's talk about this. You remember years ago you did? You see what I'm saying? See, I'm not that person. I'm not the person to be like trying to pretend like, to talk around stuff. No. We're going to talk about this first. Well, Dwayne, this ain't the best time to talk about, but when is it? Because we got too many people, particularly in our families, that have been suffering in silence for years. And what we've done is that we have programmed ourselves, many people have, and to try to say, well, that's just how he is. No, if he is a freaking this, then you need to call him out. I'm saying, for example, if that's the case, I'm not talking about the individual I'm talking about, but I'm saying if you know this about this individual, right, that they've done some very horrible things, I'm not the one to pretend. You understand what I'm saying? To act like this individual is normal. No, you're not normal. You're a whole demon, and I'm going to cast you out, period. And they will have to call the cops on me when I am done. You understand what I'm saying? That we cannot enter into 2026 normalizing that kind of behavior or those little family dark secrets and stuff like that. No more. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That stuff, that's the separation I'm talking about that needs to happen. Now, if you come from Jamaica, you come from whatever island, Barbados, or you come from Africa, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. You start coming in and talking sideways about me or my culture, then we're going to have some problems. But other than that, I ain't got no problem with you. I'm not going to get engaged in all of that stuff. So that stuff has to stop. That's one. Next thing I would say is this, and I'm talking all the internal stuff, and then I'm going to move on to the external, which is in this book I'm going to show you in a moment. The next thing is this, and this is going to mess up with a lot of y'all. I know it is, but I have to say it, is this. As I've said many times before, I don't care what your belief system is. I don't care what religion you're into. I don't care. I really do not care. I don't. That's your belief system. I mean, we got people all the time be like, hey, shalom, Dwayne, how you doing? Whatever. It don't bother me. That's your belief system. That is what you choose to believe in. That's fine. That's fine for you. But here on this platform, I am going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. Number one, by telling you that belief does not equal fact. You understand? So you can believe in whatever you want to believe in, but if it doesn't measure up to historical facts, then I'm going to say it as such. I don't need to mock you any further. I don't need to go into mocking or name calling. I don't need to go into any of that. I don't need to go, oh, look at these stupid people. They coming up. I don't need to go into any of that. I don't have to go there. I'm just calmly will say, this is the facts. This is what it is. Now, this is your belief system. But here are the facts right here. Which one are you going to lean on to? Now, I do understand that for many people, just period. And it's not just black folks, but just period. Well, let's just talk about black people just for a moment. Religion has been something in this country, has been something that has really, we have leaned into and has made it a part of our culture. And I'm mainly talking about the Bible, anything that's Bible based. We have really leaned into it. And it was something that has served as some type of, I would say, a relief valve for a lot of things that we have been going through. But religion isn't necessarily something that was healing families. there's some cases you may see something of that, but all in all, we're not seeing that. The promises that religion has put out when it comes to healing, when it comes to bringing restoration to families and all of this stuff, we have to begin to be honest and say it hasn't been happening. When you look at, and I've talked about this before, when you look at the people who are the most dedicated to the Bible, to church, to Christianity in this country, they've actually done studies on it. You know which group is ranked near the top? It's Black Americans. So if that's the case, we should see a proportional amount of blessings, if you will, that's happening amongst Black Americans that are supernatural in nature. We should be seeing that. But we're not seeing that, are we? But what religion would tell you is it's because you're not doing enough. You're not praying enough. You're not fasting enough. You're not giving in enough tithes and offerings. It's your fault. Meanwhile, everybody else is doing fine without praying, without fasting, without doing all this stuff. You understand what I'm saying? If we have no problems with ranking businesses, we go to a restaurant and then we find out they got a big old turd or whatever sitting on top of our red beans and rice or whatever, I'm sorry to put the visual out there, but I'm saying we ain't got no problem going on Yelp and saying, nah, you crazy. Don't ever go to this place. We'll go on Yelp, we'll do a TikTok, we'll do an Instagram, we'll do a Facebook, whatever. And we will tell people, no, I'm not giving them any stars because the place was horrible. It smelled like garbage. The people had an attitude. What you're doing is you're holding them accountable for what their claims are. Their claims are, we got the best food in town, but you go there and it's horrible. So you go there as a customer would, and you holding them accountable. And you say, no, this place is horrible. So if we can do that for restaurants, and if we can do that for shows, for example, that we see on television, we say, oh, that show was horrible. Or we say, oh man, this thing was the best. We'll do videos on it. We'll do reviews on things like that, right? Why is it so hard for us in 2025 to do the same thing when it comes to the Bible? Why is it so hard? There are many of us that have stories where we had loved ones who were faithful, who were loyal, who were dedicated, and did everything they were supposed to do, and they still died at a much early age. Or other things happen. And now we know life and death does happen. We get that. We understand that. But you and I both know some of these folks are being taken out way too early before their time. And instead of facing that and asking those questions, what religion will tell us is, oh, don't worry about it. Hey, listen, God, he needed another choir director. The Most High, he needed another gardener in his garden. And, he needed someone to help pick his heavenly cotton and all of this stuff. We'll make up all kinds of things instead of engaging our brain and saying, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Now, this is what this book says, but this ain't fleshing out what's going on here. And so again, what religion will do is will always point the fingers back at you and say, you're the problem. It's you. You're the issue. But we have been trained to be afraid to say, no, I'm not the issue here. You're the issue. And boy, oh boy, that's a tough one. Yeah, like someone said, or it's all in his plan. It's God's plan. Hey, God works in mysterious ways. I'm tired of being mysterious. I'm tired of that. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Well, can he unmysteriously my bank account so I can get some things taken care of? You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. I'm trying to get this part so my car, I can get the work back and forth. Can he make that? But meanwhile, everybody else, it seems like it's fine for them. And you got people who are straight up devil worshipers that be going fine. Why? Because again, we are in a system. We are in a matrix system. And in this matrix system, there are certain rules. You play by those rules, you'll be fine. If you don't, that's it. If you are a person of high moral character, you're going to have a much difficult time in this system. You are. It just comes what it is. It's a very frustrating thing. It's very frustrating, but it's true. Now, what I want to do is take a look at, remember I told you one of the things about this matrix system. What have I told you over and over again? I said the operating system of this matrix system is what? It's Judaism. Judaism is the operating system of this matrix system. Like I said, again, I'm about to tell y'all something. It's going to mess with y'all, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's very interesting that this system has offered you a religion. It offers you many religions. You can, you take your pick. But let's focus on Christianity, for example. Let's just focus on that. Christianity tells us that you were born into sin. You were born as a sinner. And what we push back on, again, you're looking at someone who's been in the church and been in Christianity for numbers of years. Okay, so I'm not just saying this as, because I get some people say, well, you just weren't reading your Bible enough or whatever. I'm like, yeah, about 40 years worth of it. I think I've been reading it for some time. I'm just at the point now in this stage of my life where I begin to start asking questions about it. So yeah, don't throw me into that bucket. But Christianity tells you that you are someone that was born defective. But it will also tell you, and they say it was because of something that happened in the Garden of Eden, and that made everybody is basically bound and ready to go to hell because of what took place in the Garden of Eden. And so what they did was they set up a problem and they provided you with a way of escape. And a way of escape is what? Is that you have to bow your knee to Jesus. But it's not just Jesus. Jesus was a Jew. Oh, but he's more than that. He just came down he is a Jew. Jesus is a Jewish person. Okay? He's in the form of a Jewish person. So if Jesus was God's son, and he was Jewish, then in their world, what does that make God? I'm pausing a little bit because, I got to let people time to marinate on that a little bit. Again, this is what this system has offered to you. So if Jesus was Jewish and he's God's son, what does that make his father? Jewish. Oh, wait a minute, man. How can you say that he's God? He's above all. He's this or that or whatever. Okay, well, let's take it even further. So on top of that, let's skip all the way to the book of Revelation. What is the promise that is given to, through John on the Isle of Patmos? He's got all these revelations going through his head. What did he say is going to happen? He said a new Philadelphia is going to come out of the sky and descend on the old one. No, he didn't say that. Oh, no, he said a new London is going to come down. No, he didn't say that either. No, he said a new name, the, African capital is going to come down. Did he say that? No. He said a new Jerusalem is going to come down out of the sky. That's why I said the Bible is, in fact, a pro-Zionist book because it ends that way. A new Jerusalem. And who's living in Jerusalem? Jews. So this system, and I'm not finished yet. So far, we got the Son, we got the Father, and then we have a commitment that a Jewish city, and I'm putting in air quotes because those of you who've been following me know that we looked at the etymology of the word Jerusalem and what that means, right? But anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. So far we got 3 pieces there, but I'm not finished. So let's look at heaven, for example, and how heaven is set up. There's a lot of Jewish, when you're reading the Bible, okay, we don't have any documents or anything like that, or someone went to heaven and came back, outside of the Bible. We don't have that. But when you're reading the Bible and how it's set up, it is all set up reflecting one culture, and it ain't a culture that you're going to find in South Africa. It's not a culture that you're going to find in New Zealand. It's not a culture that you're going to find in Australia. It's not a culture that you're going to find in Russia. It reflects only one culture, and that is what? A Jewish culture. Now, I know some people are going to be, it's not Jewish, it's Hebrew, whatever, same boat. So heaven itself is a spiritualized environment of Jewish culture. Well, I'm not finished yet. You thought I was done. I'm still not finished. Well, who else came out of heaven according to the Bible? Lucifer. Now, even though it's, again, we've talked about this too. You got Lucifer and you got Satan and all this stuff. And if you really understand it, they actually were different people, but somehow in Christianity, they kind of melded them all together. But let's just stick with the generalized, most accepted narrative is that Lucifer is Satan and all of that, right? Let's just stick with that. But out of that came Lucifer. Out of this Jewish environment in heaven came Lucifer. And then he rose up and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be like the Most High. And then what happened? He falls out of the sky, and then he gets where? He gets sent to earth or whatever, and now he's going around and boo-hooing everybody, right? And then one day he's going to be sent to hell. So this whole thing that has been given to us, force-fed to us, is a Jewish narrative. All of it is. All of it is. All of it is a Jewish narrative. Because we've told you, as I pointed to you in the Bible, when it says go into all the world and preach the gospel, the world in their minds at that time excluded where we live, black folks, where we lived. It excluded that. Now, you say, well, you got the Queen of Sheba and all, okay, you got the Queen of Sheba. Okay, so they will mention that. Well, you got the Ethiopian guy that, that carried the cross or whatever. So that's not really true. But do they mention all these other parts in Africa? No, they don't. Do they mention what we call today the Americas? No, they don't. How about some of the island nations outside of the Mediterranean in that whole area, the Levant? Do they mention anything outside of that? No. As I told you, Spain was considered the edge of the earth. It was literally considered the edge of the earth. They didn't know that there was anything that existed past Spain. All of Africa, when they say that, when the Bible mentions Ethiopia, you do understand that all of Africa at one time was called Ethiopia. So that could have been anywhere. So anytime you hear the Bible mention Ethiopia, they're not talking about the Ethiopia that we know today. It could have been anywhere in Africa. And because they excluded us in much of that, more than likely they're talking about up in the north, the extreme northern part of the continent. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is the matrix system that we're in. And these are the people that have implanted inside of you what they want you, how they want you to perceive life and everything around it. That you are a piece of garbage, that you were born into sin, when nature itself slaps that whole thing in his face. Anyway, let me share with you now this book here talking about these same people. Now, it's this book here, and then there's another book. I'm trying to find it. It's in German, but I can read to you. I might be able to read to you what this guy says if I can get my hands on it. But anyway, let's see. This book is... Okay, I'm just was trying to get to, because I highlighted some things and then, all right, so I want to get to, okay, so here's the name of the book here. Here's the book right here. Name of this book is called You Gentiles. It's called You Gentiles. It's by Maurice Samuel. And this book was written, I think, in the early 1900s. This is a book that I will be adding to our digital library. And for those who, if you have connection on the digital library, I'll put it in the folder for December of this year. You'll see it under there a little bit later on today. I'll make sure to add that. Okay. So the name of this book is called You Gentiles. And let me see if I can pull up for you a little bit about Mr. Maurice here and what his beliefs were on that. Okay, let's see. All right, we'll just learn a little bit about him. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to talk about how, and I'll show you how, and I'm using Grok for this, how Grok kind of spun things a little bit here. All right, so let me just read this for you, and then I'm going to read you this excerpt, man. It's going to blow you away. He was a Romanian-born Jewish novelist, translator, lecturer, and public intellectual who spent much of his life in England and the United States. He was widely regarded as one of the premier Jewish humanists. Hold on, I'll just bring this up on the screen, so if you want to follow along, you can. Let's see. There we go. All right, born in Măcin, Romania, to a Yiddish-speaking family, Samuel moved to Paris as a child and then to Manchester, England, where he grew up. He briefly attended Victoria University in Manchester, so forth and so on, blah, blah, blah. Samuel was deeply committed to Zionism. I'm going to do a video soon where I'm going to talk about the history of Zionism. Because if you think Jews always believe that what they're calling today the state of Israel, they always believe is their real home, I going to show you where Zionism came from. And prior to that, this is, I would say, prior to the early 1900s, Jews were not going around saying that Israel is their homeland. They weren't saying that. The Jews that we know of today, they were never saying that. And we're gonna talk about it, where it's going to involve Britain and all of that. So if you like history, I think you will like that. Okay. Because it's going to shock some people, because some people think that, but it's no, this is a recent development where they believe that Israel, what we call today the state of Israel, is their home. Even to this day, you have numbers of religious Jews who don't even believe that. And so anyway, we'll talk about that, but they belong. So Samuel, he belonged to Zionism movement. Working as a propagandist for the Zionist Organization of America in the 1920s. Before becoming a freelance writer and lecturer, he traveled extensively speaking on Jewish themes across the U.S., Europe, Africa, and Israel. His work often explored Judaism, Jewish identity, anti-Semitism, and the role of Jews in modern society, while he also translated many major Yiddish writers like Shalom Achim, Isaac Loeb, Perez. Okay, some of these other people I personally don't care about, okay, unless they say nigga. Anyway, his most famous and controversial book is You Gentiles, written in 1924, in which he argued for a fundamental, irreconcilable culture and spiritual divide between Jews and non-Jews, Gentiles, portraying Jewish values as more serious and moralistic compared to what he described as the more playful or pagan Gentile worldview. The book was praised by, now check this part out. Now, this is what Grok says. The book has been praised in some Zionist circles for affirming Jewish distinctiveness, but criticized and sometimes misused by anti-Semites for its stark dualism. So that sentence right there, what does that tell us? So if you are a Zionist and you agree with the book, then it's okay. But if you're someone that's not a Zionist and you don't agree with the book, then you're an anti-Semite. That's basically what that sentence is saying. You see the logic that they throw around on that? That's why I say you got to be very careful Every day I'm learning something new on how to ask questions on these platforms because they will throw in things like that. And then they name some of his other works and all that stuff. Okay, so there you go. All right, so now let's get to a couple of excerpts from his book here. And let's take a listen to his worldview on things here. All right, so here we go. Let's pull this up here. And this all ties into everything in how we're moving in 2026. Okay, so again, you should have that on your screen, you Gentiles. Okay, so I'm going to go, here's the table of contents right here. I'm getting through the book right now, just starting getting through it. But man, oh man, I'm telling you, these people are something else. These people are something else. Here's the some of the chapters: the question, sport, God's utopia, loyalty, discipline, the reckoning. But as moderns, we, the destroyers, the game of science, the masses, solution and dissolution, the mechanism of dissolution. Is there any hope? And a last word. Well, we're going to go to the chapter, we, the destroyers. So that's where we're going to go right now. So let me scroll down to that chapter. That's going to be page 144 here. If I can get my stuff together here. Let's see. Page 144. Okay, almost there, y'all. Almost there. All right, here we go. We the destroyers. I'm just going to read. Fortunately, I went ahead and I highlighted some things in here. So I'm just going to read the highlighted parts for you. Okay, so here we go. I don't believe that we Jews are powerful enough to threaten your way of life seriously. Again, he's talking to people who are non-Jews. We are only powerful enough to irritate, to disturb your conscience, and to break here and there the rhythmic rush of your ideas. We irritate you as a sardonic and humorless adult irritates young people by laughing at their play. For the real irritation lies in the fact that to our queries regarding your life, there is no answer on your level, on our level. As to yours regarding our life, there is no answer on yours. Okay, so that's one excerpt there. I have another one here, and then we're going to get to the main one. All right. This is the Jew who forms the backbone of both the audience and the contributor to your radical and revolutionary organs. The Jew who is the precipitating center of your spasmodic and inconsistent efforts for justice. This man in your midst is not to be recognized on the surface as a Jew. He himself repudiates, and in all sincerity, his Jewish affiliations. He is a citizen of the world. He is a son of humanity, the progress of all humankind, and not of any single group of it, is in his particular care. If only the civil rights folks had taken the time and to read these books instead of getting out there marching, they would have known what they were getting into. Okay, let's continue to read. It's one more excerpt here. This is their words. This is not mine. Oh, actually, I have two more. In everything, we are destroyers, even in instruments of destruction to which we turn for relief. The very socialism and internationalism through which our choked spirit seeks utterance, which seem to threaten your way of life, are alien to our spirit's demands and needs. Okay, let's go on. And this is the last paragraph of the chapter, We the Destroyers. We Jews are the destroyers, will remain the destroyers forever. Nothing that you will do meet our needs and demands. We will forever destroy because we need a world of our own, a God world, which it is not in your nature to build. Beyond all temporary alliances with this or that faction lies the ultimate split in nature and destiny, the enmity between the game and God. But those of us who fail to understand that truth will always be found in alliance with your rebellious factions until disillusionment comes. The wretched fate which scattered us through your midst has thrust this unwelcome role upon us. As you just read, this is a highly revered book. This isn't something they cast away or said that this is a piece of trash and he was an anti-Semite and all this other stuff. No, they still read this book. Did you know about it? I told you, they document everything. That's the good thing I can say is they document their own stuff. They are calling themselves this. This is what they call themselves. So if you take what I just told you as far as the operating system of this matrix system, and now you are listening to how they actually see themselves, why on earth would anybody want to have anything at all to do with these people? Why would you want to create any kind of worldview around their belief system? Why would you want to do that? Yeah, the name of the book again is called it's called You Gentiles. That's the name of the book. And like I said, this book I will be including that in our digital library. Just give me about an hour or so after this broadcast and I'll make sure it's in there. Okay. And then I have another one there too. Oh, she has my phone. Let me think for a second. Oh, I know where I can get it. Hold on, just give me a moment here. So that was the book we just read there. Let's see. Hopefully I did it. I did bookmark it. Hold on. Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just play the audio for this one, okay? This guy, his name is a Jewish guy by the name of Dr. Kurt Munzer. And he wrote the following in his book. And this is a book I'm trying to get a hold of right now. Okay, I'm putting in the work trying to track down this book. But here you go. I want you to take a listen to what he had to say.
In his novel Der Weg nach Zion, The Way to Zion, we have corrupted the blood of all the races of Europe. Perhaps we have infected them. Today, everything is unified. Our thinking is in everything living. Our spirit rules the world. We are the masters. For everything that has power today is the child of our spirit. One may hate us, one may drive us away, our enemies may triumph over our physical weakness, but we are no longer to be gotten rid of. We have devoured the peoples, conquered the races, defiled them, broken their strength, made everything rotten, lazy, and corrupt with our stale culture. Our spirit can no longer be exterminated.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's what they said. That's what they're saying about themselves. And when you bring this stuff up to these people, it never fails. They go quiet. Because they were not counting on Negroes in 2025 to bring this stuff up. Because folk ain't reading. You got people out here now that want to 110% depend on ChatGPT to spoon feed them information. But when you realize that the people who are creating these platforms are these people, you're never going to find this stuff. You're not going to find it. They're just hoping and counting on you to be lazy and not look these things up. Listen, if I got to learn a little bit of German and get through that, I will. I'm like I said, I am hotly in pursuit of that book, because everything that I present to you when it comes to quotes out of these books, I'm going to make sure that I have the book in hand. I'm going to make sure that so I get the full context of everything they're saying. I had two things that happened to me, and I'm going to wrap this up, okay? There was I have questions about this one event that they always talk about. Okay, I have a lot of questions because a lot of things don't add up. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Now, one of theirs did a documentary where he actually went over there with a camera. He was young. He was like on, I forgot, he was on some show too. He was like on a talk show. He was making rounds, but he went over there with a camera. And many of the questions that people had, he was going over there and questioning these people straight up. And he was talking about all this stuff let me tell you, he was doing all that, right? And he made it this little cheap documentary. It was like years ago. Well, you know, I'm sure the rabbis didn't like that, and he got that spanking. So anyway, I'm on Twitter or X, and someone mentioned his video. They had like a little clip of it. And so I said, oh yeah, I remember. I said, this is a very good one, because he actually went over there and he was talking to the people. He was talking to the administration and all of that. And they were telling him, you know, straight up, hey, what's up? You know, that kind of thing, right? And, you know, what was going on, and things weren't adding up. And they were saying, yeah, we know. We know it doesn't add up because of this, that, or whatever. I'm being very broad, you know, again, because I know how this platform works. So you just have to read between the lines. And so, yeah, so he did all this, and it's been out for years. Well, you know, like I said, I know he got that beat down by the rabbis and all of that. So now he's out here taking a whole about face. So I wasn't even reaching out to him. Right? You know, just like information's there, whatever, but he wasn't the only one. And so he came after me. This is the guy that's over that did this documentary. He came after me. He was like, oh man, you know, I'm tired of you dumb people. You know, I did that when I was young. I was just playing around. I was like, you weren't playing around. You weren't playing around. I said, because number one, you weren't the only one that was putting this out. There are many other people that have been putting this out for years before you did it. You were just dumb and stupid enough to record it. But now you want to come out here and try to get in full denial mode. So it was just propaganda. Nah, bruh. Them rabbis got into that behind, and now you trying to run away from it, but you can't run away from the truth. You can't run away from it. And so, yeah, so they what they're doing is trying to bury all of this stuff, but scare you to death for even asking questions. One other thing happened. It was a Jewish guy. He was on there. He posted something. He was like, I forgot the name of the guy, somewhere up north. There's a Jewish guy. They have a placard for him. They said, you know, he supported the North, and you know, and he, you know, by financially, he would support the Revolutionary War by supporting the North and Union soldiers and all that other stuff, right? And so they kept the focus on this dude. So you know what I did? I was like, okay, then tell the whole story. Okay, did you tell the story about Judah P. Benjamin, who basically financed the whole, you know, the Confederacy and helped organize and structure the banks of the Confederacy? You gonna mention that one? Oh, and by the way, this guy that you're talking about that financed the North, he had a slave. He was living in the North, and he had a slave, and the slave escaped. Now think about this for a second. He's in the North, which was supposed to be a free space for black folks. He had a slave, and the slave still escaped. So you know this dude must have been wicked towards his slave if that happened. And he's in the north. But no, we don't want to mention any of that. And then all of a sudden people start coming in. They start bringing up all this other stuff. They was like, well, you know, Christians, they did things too. And what about this person here? And I'm like, whoa. Why are we going all this what about stuff? He brought this person up. Let's finish the conversation. Let's talk about the whole thing. Oh, you just are MF for this and that, and you need to get out of here and all this stuff. Because see, you ain't telling, I'm telling you the whole story. You don't want to hear it. And once you start, as you get more and more versed in their stuff, they don't have anything to say. And what I'm saying to you, black man, black woman, is this. In 2026, what's going to happen as I'm shutting this down, I told you already, they are gearing up with a lot of money in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Israel is going there. Politicians now are backing away from publicly identifying with AIPAC. This is a very important thing I'm telling you. They're publicly backing away from it because, you know, the public is turned against AIPAC and Israel and all of that. So what politicians are doing is saying, okay, if you have an event, I ain't trying to be there. But behind the scenes, they are still handing out hundreds of millions of dollars. Just remind me of something else. Did I screenshot that? Let me see if I put that. Was that here? That would be on my desktop, I think. Hold on. Yes, here it is. Let me share this with you. Everything I'm giving you, y'all, this is something very important. Did you know this? U.S. states' investment in Israel. So above and beyond what's given to Israel on a federal level. This is what states are doing on a state level. U.S. state investments in Israel bonds approximate totals in the millions. As of late 2024, Ohio, over $350 million in state bonds, Israeli bonds, stocks and bonds. New York, Florida, Texas, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Arizona, Alabama. So even on the state level, they are handing this place millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And this place has literally just said that they said, okay, we're not going to do the public thing anymore, but we're going to start funneling the money to influencers on social media. That's one of the places we're going to do. So what I'm saying, in 2026, you're going to start seeing that. There's two things you're going to see. You're going to see black folks who are going to be very open about being pro-Zionist, right? You're going to see that. So that is going to be clear to identify. What's not going to be too clear is something that's been happening, but it's going to happen even more. Many of these top black social media content creators, they have for the longest time have avoided calling Israel out, calling out the things that we're talking about. They have avoided that. Instead, what they do is they fold it under white supremacy. And so they get you focused on white supremacy, blurring it up so you don't necessarily call out the specifics. See, when you're in a war, you don't spray the whole village. You go after the snipers. Do you understand what I'm saying? You go after the people who are really doing things. And this is what black folks have been doing up to this point, is we just mowing everybody down. If you lighter than me, I'm going to mow you down. If you from a different country, I'm going to mow you down and all of that. But we're not educating ourselves on the specifics on what these people are, who they are, their belief systems. As I just shared with you just now, you're not seeing people talking about this stuff because why? People have been too afraid to even say any of this stuff. But the key is to verse yourself in their stuff. Read their books. Educate yourself in their stuff, in their belief systems. You don't have to get into this thing where you're name calling and all this stuff. There's a very wise way of doing it. And us as black folks, remember the quote that I pulled out of one of these books, This is a book they wrote. They said as long as black people were present, they said the feet of whites and Jews never touched the bottom. And they were referring to what was the conditions in the South. Let me say that again. They said as long as black people were around, the Negro was around, they said the feet of whites and Jews never touched the economic bottom. Now, you may see that as a disadvantage, but I'm choosing to see that as an advantage point, because when you're at the bottom, you do have a vantage point, because now you can see up the draws of everybody that's above you. And black folks, we've been looking at dirty, stinking Brown Street draws out of everybody for all of this time. And it's about time we start calling this stuff out. It is time for us to start calling out all of this stuff out without fear, without all of that stuff. Start calling this stuff out for what it is, because what we have on our side is truth. And we're not going to run away from it. And anybody that's out here that wants to try to deviate you away from this stuff and try to scare you and say, don't you dare say that. Like I've had pastors come after me talking about, no, don't you know you're talking about God's chosen. I said, well, why you go so silent when I'm talking about this or what they did to us? I have a whole video that I did where I talked about the experimentation they did on us. And I ain't talking about in the 1700s. I'm talking about in the last 50 years. Yeah, I did a whole video on that. I identified 3 Jewish doctors that experimented on black people. You'll never hear that in school. ChatGPT will never bring that up. But this is why we have to be versed in when it comes to these books, because these LLMs, these AI platforms, they're not going to mention any of this stuff. You understand? So this is what we're going to be seeing in 2026, is that there's going to be a full onslaught of this. We're going to see more and more of these black content creators. They're not necessarily going to pick a side in terms of Israel versus Gaza. You know, like I always said, don't get caught up in that. But they will become more and more silent on what we're talking about now and try to fold it all in and say it's all just white people at the end of the day. No. We got to be more specific in that. And one of the things, like I said, the tactics, and they're already doing it now. They're going to start naming all of these people in the civil rights era. You know, when the content creator, Tommy Sotomayor, you know, he's all over the place anyway, but he has a very large following, and he's been out here lately talking about, you know, white people are evil, but you know, our best friends through the whole thing has been Jews. You know, they was marching with us during the civil rights era and all that. I say, yep, he got his check. He got his check. And you're going to see a lot more doing the same thing. You mark my words for it. You mark my words on this. That's one of the things you're going to see. And this, I believe, the reason why this is so important is because once this gets called out for what it is, we're going to begin to start seeing some things happen positive for black folks. Because truth is just like that. It's like sunlight. It just chases away the shadows. It chases away the darkness. You don't have to be violent. You don't have to be disrespectful, but you have to stand on truth. And you're not going to be in a position of doing that if you're pretending to be like them, Hebrew Israelites, or even Christians for that matter, where you believe you're the spiritual Israel. You're going to have to put all of that away, stop pretending to be like them, and begin to stand on truth. So this is why in this past year, we've spent so much time in, it's not just, what you call it? I forgot the word for it right now, but basically it's a detox. It's a full detox. It's going to take some time to detox yourself from all of this, but you have to be willing to go through it. And that's what I'm telling myself. And that's what I'm telling you, you know, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but it is something that we all need to do, you know, as we're going into this next year of 2026. So I would really encourage you to start being serious. And we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to stay on these topics and other topics as well. We're going to continue to demand from ourselves truth, and we're going to continue to demand from others the truth as well. But the standard starts here. It doesn't start out there. It starts here. If I don't have a standard here, I can't expect the world to have a standard if I didn't establish one here. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's where it begins. All right. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to continue to look at their stuff. If you're not attached to if you're not connected to our digital library, please do it, because I'm gonna be dropping more and more things in there, and we'll be doing videos and stuff like that. I'll be putting out a video for our subscribers to this channel. The ones that support this channel, really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Really, really do. We'll be putting out some more stuff for you, more documents and things like that you can look over and you can study and all of that, and asking some hard questions of ourselves too. We'll be doing more of that in this coming year, okay? Because we're going to get the whole man taken care of. It's not just knowledge, but it's also your health too, getting your health right, getting your wellness right. We're going to stop this trend of watching our people die and blaming God for it and saying, God, he needed another usher in heaven, or he needed someone a ball cleaner in heaven. Enough of that nonsense, enough of that BS. We're going to stop submitting our boys to getting not castrated, but circumcised. We're going to stop that nonsense too, because that got exposed. That's one of the things we harped on all this year. And we talked about what happens to the body when boys are circumcised and what happens psychologically, mentally, and health-wise. We went through all of that. Check out our videos. We talked all of that. We're going to end that. We're going to keep on with our big black mouths. We're going to keep on talking about that stuff. These things are going to have to stop completely. If you're serious about leaving the matrix, these are some things you're going to have to abandon. It's just what it is. You can't do both. And some family members, they ain't going to understand that, but whatever. That's it. It's not that you're better than them. You just decide to stop being stupid. Okay? So that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much as always. If you have any questions here, I'll stick around for a minute or two. I'll be more than happy to take on some questions here. But other than that, we're heading into another year, y'all, and, let's get ourselves ready. So I'll put on some music here and let me see what I got. Not that one. Let's see. Let's see what I got here. No. I'll put that on. Anyway, I'll just let this play out a little bit. If you got any questions for me at all, while I'm here, please go ahead and post it, and I'll take on any question that you may have. Okay. We usually do like a call in and all of that. And I would be open to that. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be going live too. It's like a new year thing and all of that. My wife and I will be going live, I think. So, just be on the lookout for that. That'll be fun. All right. I'll just stick around here for a moment. Someone said the guy I mentioned, where did he go? What guy are you talking about? Another, have you had any plans on going deep into the Talmud? Exposes a lot. Yeah, I mean, at some point, yeah. But I think the two quotes that I pulled, well, the one from Hillel, the elder, where someone asked him, they said, why are the feet of Africans so wide? And he answers, he says, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. He literally says this. He says, because they live in swamps. So that's one there that all you got to do is keep that on repeat. And they don't have any response to that whatsoever. None. They won't even touch it. But they'll try to push that whole, well, you don't know the whole context of it. What's the context of saying that? What full context I need on that one? Then, of course, their most esteemed rabbi, Maimonides, him equating. Now, this isn't in the Talmud, but he's a Talmudic rabbi. He's a rabbi that people who are in the Talmud, who refer to the Talmud and study it, they look to him because he's like the master of it, so to speak. And, he has a whole thing where he's comparing black folks. He says Negroes from the South. Now, some people got a little confused because they thought he was saying the South as in here in America. But no, he's not talking about that. He was talking South past Egypt, during this. He's talking about the central and southern part of Africa. That's where he was talking about these individuals. He was saying those darker skinned people, he said they have the intellect basically almost like an ape, that they're less than human. And so, but again, I bring that up literally all the time to these people, and they will never, ever, ever, ever answer it. They will find all kinds of ways to avoid it. And I'm just, nope, I'm going to keep it right in your face. And I'm going to keep on hammering this until you see it, until you acknowledge it. And that's it. So anyway, someone asked, hey, where do I get those books? It's right here. If you go to you see on the screen right now, it says Samba Journeys. This is our YouTube page, right? And then you go under post. You see post? This is the community page right here. Okay. So right there, you're going to click on that. And then you just scroll down until you get to, you can go to this post here, I believe. Do I have it on here? Yeah, you can go into that one. This one right here with the guy right here. I have a step-by-step. It's $9.99. That's it. It's not a monthly thing or anything like that. You can either pay via Cash App, or if you don't use Cash App, under all of our videos, we have like a thanks button. YouTube has that little thanks button. You can click on that, pay that way. And if you pay that way, make sure you email me at connect@journeymanandwoman.com. Email me, send me a quick email. Let me know, hey, I paid via YouTube, and then I'll get you, as long as I got your email address, I can do that. I'll add you immediately. If you pay via Cash App, in the notes field, make sure in the notes field you put in your email address. Okay. You could do that. Now, if you are someone that is a subscriber, or rather a supporter of the channel, you're a member of the channel, then if as a member, one of the benefits is you get full access to that. Now, I just left a message for you guys earlier in Threema, just telling you, hey, because I move things around, just send me your email address and I'll make sure you get added back to it. But yeah, if you are a member of this, and I think it's, $4.99 a month or something like that, you get access to the library. You can access it. Okay. And so there you go. And then, like I said, I'll have some more videos that I will be posting up in the very near future. So you can go that route too. Okay. So that's all I have. Let me see if I have anybody else. Someone said, crazy confession, I used to fall in love with those folks to the point I wanted to marry them. Yeah, you ain't the only one. There's a lot of other people like that too, but we got to wake up. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care and enjoy the rest of your day. And as we walk into a brand new year, take care now. Bye.